Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. I am Nimesh, Radia, and I'm your host. I always love starting every episode by saying thank you. I feel so blessed with this podcast. The numbers, the people it's reaching, the impact it's having, the numbers, and I guess all of that's important in terms of reach. But what really has an impact is receiving the messages and knowing this is having an individual impact on people, and people are finding it when they need it most. I started this podcast to really simplify spirituality and to guide people on the journey. I was guided to start it by the messages I got through the Akashic Records. Also by my mentor, my friend who left this realm in March 2020, who's now a spiritual guide. I named it after the spiritual journey. Her name is Sidra Jeffrey, so has her initials. And somehow I feel like she continues to guide it. So thank you, Sidra, for guiding me and continue to push me. Thank you for, if you're a regular listener, thank you and welcome back. If you're new to this podcast, then welcome. Let us know how it resonates, any feedback you have, any topics you want us to cover, please do let us know. For me, I'm an Akashic record reader, I'm an Akashic trainer, podcast host, podcast creator, as well as a spiritual coach and mentor. What I get to do is I get to guide people on their journey, hold space, helping people understand who they are at such a deep core level, releasing the programming, and guiding you to you. I do that through Akashic Records, but mainly through the beautiful mentorship program that me and Stacey channeled. You can work with us together or work with us separately. But what it does is over 12 weeks, it guides you to you. We hold your space as you work through your four bodies: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And your karma, the thing you're working through, could be in any one of those bodies. And we take you back to you. So if that interests you, if that resonates, book a free discovery call. The links in the show notes. This podcast wouldn't be where it is today without my beautiful and stunning co-host, introducing the amazing, the stunning, the healer extraordinaire, now published author, Stacey Brown. Stace, over to you. You know I got to do that.
So good to be here, friends. I'm really looking forward to another episode with you. My name is Stacey. I'm an intuitive. I do readings for people from around the world. I'm also an Akashic record reader and a spiritual coach and mentor. I have a book out called Journey to Soul Center, Discovering the Gift of Surrender, and it's available on Amazon and Audible. This is such an amazing platform and such a beautiful time for us to be delving into this topic today. I'm really looking forward to what comes up and hoping that you, our listening audience, will be open to whatever is meant for you from this episode today. Looking forward to getting into it, Nims.
Yeah, so am I. So, I always mention that the topics we pick, we used to pick topics in advance. We don't script anything. Everything's channeled, but we used to pick topics in advance. But more recently, we've been kind of feeling the energy and picking what we feel is right. And one of the questions I get asked quite a lot is about soul contracts and blood family. So today we're going to talk about the chosen family, the soul family, and healing the wounds for the blood family. And just what does it mean? Because we talk a lot about this podcast about blood family and soul family, and what does it really mean? And when we incarnate into this physical body, we have soul contracts, and the soul contracts are really around what we need to experience. And that may be to experience pain, some sort of expansion. It could be unconditional love. But for the blood family, there's always, and what I mean by blood family is parents, brothers, sisters, etc., and even extended family. So as a soul, we pick our blood family based on what we need to experience and what we need to expand and the karma we need to release. But honestly, that doesn't always mean that they're meant to love us. Our programming says that our mother should love us, our father should love us, brother, sister. Excuse me. That's what our programming says. Centuries and centuries of programming says the love that we want, we search for from a family should come from our blood family. But again, this is just my truth. I believe that we pick our blood family to expand us, not always to love us. But then we have the option of picking a soul family. So maybe you get the love that you seek from a divine mother, divine father, divine brother, divine sister from somebody else, from a different vibration, different energy. And maybe that's if you open yourself up to feeling love from other relationships, maybe you'll get what you need from somewhere else. Is that going to stop us wanting the love from our birth mom? Maybe not. But could you see things from a different perspective? Could you look at your blood family and ask, what are they here to teach me? What are they here? How are they here to expand me? And could you accept that they're not meant to love you? Maybe you're not meant to receive love from them. And that's kind of what we're going to dive in deep into this effort, the difference between your soul family and your blood family, and healing the wounds of your blood family. How does this topic sound to you, Stacey? And you talked a lot about your blood family and kind of the impact they've had, and you wrote it was part of the beginning of your book. So how does this topic make you feel? How do you want to kick it off?
It's so interesting because I didn't really have the concept of my blood family expanding me until well into my journey. I was constantly trying to find that love with my birth family and my family of origin and find those connections there and those bonds. And unfortunately, because of a series of events with my family, that wasn't what happened. And I've really come to deeply accept over the last several years that my blood family is here to expand me. And that is their role. And that is where I've learned so many of the lessons that I've learned in my life. And it's made me even more passionate about those souls that I bring into my life by choice, meaning that soul family, those people that you feel the divine connection with, those people that you feel like you've known forever when you meet. Those connections that I have, those bonds that I have become my family and mean so much because of the challenges that I've faced with my blood family, that I've really made it a priority to pour into the relationships of my soul family as much as possible. So I think this topic is probably going to be challenging for a lot of people because I know there are people who struggle with the relationships that they have with their blood family, whether it be with one specific family member or the family unit as a whole or the lack of a family unit. I know so many people struggle with this. And at a certain point, I believe we all can come to the decision of kind of creating the family that we desire, right? And creating those connections that really serve us. And we have the power and the ability to do that. And I know that there are a lot of people feeling very lonely right now in life. Like I've definitely been working with a lot of people dealing with loneliness and the shifting and changing of relationships. And I'm hoping that by opening up this topic, it will get our listeners to think about a family of choice rather than by blood, that maybe there are other options for you to receive the love that you desire and might not be getting. So this is a really big topic for me, Nims. And I think the other part of this that I want to add is there's a certain amount of resistance for me these days in talking about my blood family because I talked about them in the book and really found a lot of closure through that process. And when I bring it up again, it's like, oh, here we go again with that. Like I struggle with talking about the dynamic specifically with my father and I, because it's been such a challenge for so long. but I'm willing to talk about these challenging relationships if it's going to help one of our listeners. And that's the goal today, is let's unpack this and see where everybody is. Are you in a space where you're happy with your family unit and you feel connected and loved and accepted? Or have you found more of that love, connection, and acceptance through a soul family? And if you don't have a soul family, my friend, my dear listener, what can you do to start cultivating one? Because I think it's something everybody deserves. What about you, Nims? Do you focus on that soul family and those relationships that you have formed over the years?
100%. I mean, it's it's an interesting cycle we're in. Full disclosure, I have an extended family. I got 4 brothers, 4 sisters, 10 nephews, 3 nieces. So there's a lot of us, and I get a lot of love from my family, right? My blood family. I'm not, so just to share that doesn't mean that, because everything we've been through as a child defines so much of who we are as an adult. So, whether your relationship with your blood family growing up, and maybe, you weren't with your blood family, maybe you're in the foster care system or whatever, but whatever you went through as a child has such a big impact. So, for me, growing up in a large family, 3 years old, became a refugee in the UK. We were thrown out Uganda. One younger sister, everyone else is older, so I didn't. My childhood did define me. It defined me in the way that I didn't have a voice. I didn't feel like I belonged, and ironically, I now speak on a podcast, and my voice is my gift. So what you went through as a childhood with your blood family and how they expanded you, how they taught you, is an important part of who you are, and it's an important part of what you're here to experience as a soul. So, whether you get a lot of love from your blood family, whether you don't, what if we change the paradigm and the expectations of knowing that every major relationship in our life is here to expand us, and we open ourselves up to receiving love from wherever it's meant to be received? The role of the blood family is here to teach us lessons. So, it's like Stacey, when you talk about, when the conversation around blood family comes up again, it's just, you feel like you're repeating stuff you've already dealt with in your book. I'll just say to our listeners, if talking about your blood family brings up angst, it does bring up some sort of reaction, then I'll still say this: there's some healing still to be done. Because the other thing to bear in mind with this life that we're here in right now is, I feel like a lot of us have chosen to heal a lot of ancestral karma. And honestly, the biggest way to heal and integrate ancestral karma and release it is through our blood family. So if you're listening to this, I would ask you to just stop and just ask, what has my blood family taught me? What are they here to teach me? Am I, if you have kids as an example, are you raising your kids based on how you were raised? Or are you doing the opposite? Or are you doing it consciously? Because that's the other thing that happens with our upbringing in our blood family, is the cycles and the lessons continue until you become aware of your programming, and you start to release it, and you start to make conscious choices. It's like a lot of people repeat what their parents have been through. There's maybe not as much now, but they used to be pressured to to follow the same career. Look at your parents and the relationship they have. Look at your grandparents, and how does it compare to what you've been through? Our relationships with our blood family give us so many clues on what we're here to release. what we're still holding on to. So when you can step away from the emotion and start to ask yourself a different set of questions, then you start to understand. I mean, growing up, I wouldn't say I was spiritual. I grew up as a Hindu, part religious. My parents were, but I wouldn't say I was. But I didn't realize at the time. But my dad was very spiritual. But I was very human. I was very mental. So we didn't have that connection as humans. I honestly didn't feel like I belonged. I didn't feel like I got any attention from anybody. Everybody was too busy to survive. We're all in a new country, didn't speak the language. And honestly, everybody was trying to survive and find their own space in life. So I don't hold anything negative towards them. They were just doing the best they can. But ultimately, that allowed me to take a different path. My blood family, again, like I said, there's a lot of love there, but they don't really understand me. They, when I left the corporate world, I'm sure they thought I was a bit crazy. Do they really understand what I do? Maybe, probably not. My younger sister, who helps me with the podcast, she probably out of the siblings understands the most. Ironically, I probably feel my nephews and my nieces understand me more than my siblings. But that is also because I've spent more time with my nephews and nieces over the last few years, and they understand this version of me. But I learned very, very early on. My relationship with Sidra was really where I started going deep on a soul family. I'll give you an example. We were at an event, and Sidra used to run this free awaken weekend events, and I invited some of my family. They were curious about Sidra, and I was like, well, why don't you come along? I remember my sister being there, and Sidra being on stage talking about soul families, and how soul families, you have a different feeling for when they come into your world. You have a soul contract with them. They hold your space differently. You feel like you belong in their space. You feel like that connection comes from more than this life. And I had that with Sidra. When I met Sidra, she was actually introduced to me by my next fiance, who we're no longer together. But when I met Sidra, I was like, well, I want to work together with you one-to-one. And eventually we did start working together. And I remember we were at this event. She was talking about soul family and, I'd just broken up with my ex, and my sister was kind of thought, well, hold on a second. Nims is in a vulnerable position. Is he being influenced, incorrectly? So we were at this event. Sidra was talking about soul family. We went for a break. And my sister went to Sidra, and she's like, Sidra being Sidra, she's like, oh, how you doing? Are you enjoying the event? And etc. Nim's a sister. And my sister asked her, Nims already has a family. Why does he need a soul family? And Sidra kind of answered the question that, soul family is different to blood family. Soul family holds your space differently. And, she had this whole long conversation with her in the break. And how much my sister integrated, who knows? But Sidra went back on stage after the break, and her being Sidra, she was like, "Oh my God, I had a great conversation during the break with Nim's sister. I was at the back, I was helping or whatever, and most people knew me. She's like, I had a great conversation about why we need a soul family or a blood family and all this." And she went deeper on the topic. It wasn't planned on the agenda, but she went deeper. And just that's what I mean by there's space in your world for your blood family and your soul family. They play a different role. Spiritually, sure, I'm on a different path. Do I need my blood family to understand me? No. When I started this path and I became a healer, was my first thing I wanted to do was to heal my blood family, build a strong connection, do all this. Yeah, 100%. But I quickly realized they're not assigned to me. I can't force people to go down a path. Everybody's on their own unique path. So your blood family are here to expand you. They're here to teach you, not always to love you. And I know that's difficult to take, but the thing that you'll also realize, like I said earlier, is our programming says that our blood family are meant to love us. So we crave that love sometimes. The love of a mother is so vital. But we're not always going to get it from our blood mom. It's just the reality of it. And, full disclosure again, I ironically, it was recording this on Tuesday 21st. On the 19th, 2 days ago, would have been it's the 17th year anniversary of Mom leaving this realm. So, I had a loving relationship with Mom. So I felt very blessed with that. Do I miss it? Yes, I do. But everybody's journey is different. It's been over, 30 years since my dad passed away. Do I wonder what I'd be like if they stayed in my world? Yes. Interesting enough for me, my older sister, when Mum left this realm, she became that mum figure, and she still is. So, but I also know that I have other friends in my life that I get that divine mother energy from. I know that a lot of people, when they connect with me, feel like a divine father energy. Not intentional, sometimes divine brother. But I remember with the work I used to do, Sidra, she used to assign me to people as a divine father all the time. And I'll be like, really? But I get it. There's an energy and a vibration. So maybe you're meant to be the vibration, the love that others feel being part of their soul family. Maybe they're meant to feel an energy and a vibration from you as a divine mother, divine sister, divine father, divine brother. What we're here to do is we're here to break a paradigm. We're here to think and look at things differently. And it's also, we're here to release so much ancestral programming on where we get love. And what if we're here to change all of that and to see things differently? So, Stace, how are you feeling about changing the paradigm and getting love from different family instead of your blood family? The other thing you said, which is important, is we have to manifest our soul family. And I know for a lot of people, including me, over the last few years, our friend circle's got so much smaller. So maybe now with this new paradigm, we're shifting from divine masculine to divine feminine. Maybe our friendships were meant to get a lot less as we go into this new vibration. So now we can manifest a new soul family. How does that make you feel, Stace?
I think the concept of having a soul family and being able to build relationships based off of like what I need and what I desire in my life has been really empowering, because for a really long time, I kind of held myself in a space of like a victim mentality because I didn't have the family that I desired. And I've told this story before, but I haven't shared it in a while, so I'll just share it again. I had a really frustrating time navigating the relationship with my mom specifically. And just on a certain day, I just woke up really ticked off that I didn't have the mom that I needed and that I wanted to be able to reach out to her. And I don't remember what I was going through at the time, but I was going through something that needed the attention of a mom. And I was prepping to go out on a run and laced up my shoes and got out on the road, and my feet started hitting the pavement. And I was just having this battle with God about, why did you give me this family? Why have you given me this mother that is incapable of being there for me in the way that I need her to be? And I just heard this voice say, "You're right. You're right." And I was like, yeah, I am. Like, I didn't get the family that I needed. And it was like, the voice was like, yeah, you're right. You didn't get the parents that you needed, but let me show you what I did give you. And I started seeing these snapshots of all of these different experiences in my life where somebody had been placed in the role of that mother figure and had showed up for me in exactly the way I needed at exactly the time that I needed it. And I kept seeing all of these images, like women who have shown up at my house when I've had a new baby and have brought me a meal or have offered to help care for my older kids, or when I've been moving and girlfriends have showed up with their husbands to help me pack and move stuff. and just the number of times that I have been loved on by people that have been chosen family, and they have shown up for me in the way that I needed. And so from that day forward, I have kind of come from the mindset that I can either be focused on what I don't have and what I'm longing for, or I can look at what I do have and how God and the universe are showing up for me in ways that I might not expect. And it's been a really powerful lesson to go through that process and see the difference in how I perceive the role of my blood family versus my soul family, because now I can look at my blood family as the expanders that they are, that they've been placed in my life to teach me lessons and to help me understand more about myself, but not necessarily to have the relationship that I longed for so long. And I feel like I've been blessed because of now having the understanding of the concept of a soul family and what that is and what that looks like. I've been blessed to have some really incredible relationships come into my life and fill a spot for me that I would never have expected possible. And it's been through challenging times, it's been through good times, right? Like I have a family here in my community that um, the mom has just really shown up for me. And I was a single mom with 3 little kids trying to put myself through beauty school. And she was my neighbor at the time. And she knew that I was in beauty school and going through a divorce. And she showed up at my door one day and said, I feel like I'm meant to help you with your kids. Like if you need help with childcare. And that woman, her name is Patty, became like a sister and a mother figure and a confidant and a friend over the years that I cannot wrap my head around what my life would look like without her in it. She helped me raise my kids. She has been with me through so many seasons of my life and has continued to love and support me like family. And there are relationship dynamics like that that have come into my life and stayed for so long that I've formed such a bond with them that they are my family. And I'm so grateful that I've had this kind of mindset shift to be able to understand that it's not necessarily always about blood and that it doesn't have to be, that we can form these family units based off of the connection that we have with people and really live a fulfilling life, even if it's not our blood family.
Yeah, maybe it's a good time to ask the audiences. Think about what the Stacey story Stacey talked about, where the universe provided love, the love of the divine mother, even though maybe she wasn't given the blood family she expected. So if you haven't got the blood family you expected, maybe you're not receiving the love that you expected or wanted, and maybe they caused you pain. If you had to look back and look through your life, have you received from other people the love of love of a mother, love of a father, love of a brother, love of a sister? If you were to just think back through your life, and for some of you, maybe the answer may still be no. I know a lot of people have had a tough existence, right? And so maybe you haven't had that. But I really feel for some of you, maybe it'll help you realize that the universe does want to support you. It can't stop you having a human experience. If you're meant to have, a blood family that expands you, that teaches you that, then that's still going to happen. But the universe does love you, so it does send other people. And this is what a soul family looks like. And the irony is a lot of blood family and soul family you have history with from a soul perspective. You pick familiar souls when you're picking a soul contract. But even your blood family, once you start realizing, and it's hard, by the way, but once you start realizing they're playing the roles that you asked them to play. So let's say you're here to release some painful ancestral karma. Maybe it's some issues around control. Maybe it's lack of love. Therefore, you picked a blood family to teach you that. Does it make it right? Who decides what's right or wrong? But what the trick is to help you to become aware. Because once you're aware, then the next stage is always acceptance. And it's accepting that your blood family are here to expand you, and the love that you seek from a family may come from elsewhere. First stage is awareness, and you change your awareness by changing your question. And what if you're here to break ancestral cycles? So what if you becoming aware and listening to this type of conversation and starting to change your mindset around it? What if you're here to break that ancestral cycle, so the future generations don't need to experience the same? And what does a soul family look like? As Stacey says, right? When you meet somebody and you feel like you've known them for a long time, there's a feeling, there's a knowingness around somebody's voice and so. And by the way, your soul family can show up as friends, mentors, partners, but they show up when you need them most. And like I said earlier, I do feel like we're going through a reset. I feel like we're entering into a phase where community is even more important. So it is a time to look for that deeper community, that deeper feeling of being at home. And yeah, if you got a loving blood family, beautiful. But it doesn't mean that you don't also have a soul family. Excuse me for my cough. There's so much love out there in the universe, and we are entering into an expansive phase, right? We have been for a while, and there's a lot of pain on the planet. But this is a time where you really want to manifest a soul family, manifest a group of people who hold your space unconditionally, who give you that love, who give you that space to be. So if you're around people where you have to be different, you have to lower your vibration, then that's not your soul family. Your soul family expand you, they push you. And honestly, there's been different times where I thought I found my soul family, right? With Sidra and Co. I thought that, those people would be my soul family forever. And it just, some of them are still in my world. And some of them are, I'm always going to see them as family, but am I in touch with them as much as I was before? No. Do I miss Sidra on the human plane? Yes, I do. Am I glad she's a guide from another realm? Yes, I am. Do I sometimes have a conversation with her? It's like, well, hold on, Sidra, why can't we do it the other way? Why can't I go and be in the other realms and she be in the human? But this is the path I've chosen. So what if you now start consciously looking around and asking yourself, well, who is in my soul family? Do I have people that feel like they're my soul family? Or is it time for me to manifest? And, as Stacey said, this is a lonely period for a lot of people. A lot of conversations I've been having recently is about, the blood family. What are they here to teach me? And, the pain they cause, but also the loneliness of the journey. Maybe it's time for you to accept that not every blood family is going to understand you or love you, but they definitely expand you. And then really you've got to look at your soul family, your family members, and ask, is my soul contract with them complete? Is it time to maybe cut some family members out? And you can still have blood family members in your world, but not give your power away. And that's the other thing is intention. So let's say you still choose to stay connected to your blood family in some kind of way. You can still intentionally choose to not give your power away. It all comes down to expectations and being clear with what your expectations are. So, Stacey, I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about your relationship with your blood family and the knowingness that they're not here to love you, and how you went about accepting what that feels like. I feel like that'd be useful for the audience to know.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a real challenge to come to the place of accepting that my family is meant to expand me. I don't feel like I came to that understanding until, 6, 7 years ago when I went through everything with my son. And when that happened and I was dealing with the trauma of that, it kind of opened up old wounds and had me thinking about things and interacting with my parents and seeing them in a different way, seeing them and how they handled what was going on in my world. All of that stuff collectively just kind of brought me to a space of understanding that my family's role was different than what I had hoped it was going to be. And I had spent so many years longing for that. And I'm sure that some of our listening audience can relate to this, right? The longing for a family dynamic, longing for your parents to love you in the way that you need them to love you, or to see you or accept you the way that you need to be seen and accepted. And the feeling of sadness and frustration when that doesn't happen. And I spent years in that space of just trying to chase something that was never going to be. And it wasn't until I went through everything with my son that I saw my parents in a different light. And I took a step back and I made peace with accepting that my parents are doing the best they can with the knowledge and the wisdom that they have. And that just because I have expectations doesn't mean that they're going to be able to live up to them. And their experiences and their perception are going to be different than my experiences and my perception. And I think the final part of that is they're also having a human experience, right? Both of my parents have their own vault of pain that they've been through, their own map of experiences that have created them into the people that they are today. And I have to be okay with the fact that my version of what I wanted life to look like and their version is different. And like I said, it's been a process for me to get to this space. Okay, friends? So if you're struggling with this concept, I want you to know I struggled with it for decades before I got to this place. And it took, another traumatic event in my life to open me up to looking at things differently. And I think a big part of me was afraid that if I didn't have a family that loved and accepted me, like a blood family that loved and accepted me, how would I find anybody who would love and accept me? And there was that fear of, well, what does this mean for me long term? Right? Where am I going to fit? And I'm not going to lie, there are times that have been very isolating. There have been times where I have really struggled, really struggled. But at the same time, there are other things that have come to fruition. It's like, as I was learning the lessons about my blood family, at the same time that that was happening, I was seeing my soul family come to life. I think the soul family was already there. right? Like I already had these bonds, these connections with people in my life, but I was so focused on what I didn't have with my blood family that I couldn't see what I had with my soul family. And now, with the change in the way that I'm looking at things, the things that I've looked at have changed. And now I can look at it and I can say, you know what? When I need to pick up the phone and I need that mother figure, like I need that person, I have that person. She just didn't give birth to me, right? And what a beautiful thing to recognize that I have those bonds and connections, even if they aren't blood, and to be able to really fully embrace them. And so I think going through this process has given me a space to truly appreciate those relationships and value those relationships more than probably the average person does, because I've created a family by choice. And what a beautiful thing when you recognize that we have the power to do that, friends. Like we have the power to put ourselves out there and form connections and bonds with people that can last a really long time and be very, very fulfilling. And sometimes in a way that our blood family can't be. So if you're in that space, if you're in that space of feeling discouraged, that your blood family has not been there for you in the way that you need them to be, I encourage you to open up your way of thinking, your perception, and think about the people who have been there for you over the years, who have provided support when you needed it, who have maybe been a listening ear or offered some advice or words of wisdom at a time when you were struggling. Those people that showed up at a time when you felt so alone and isolated and didn't know how you were going to take your next step. Who were those people? Think about who those people are. And if you don't have those people in your life, I want to encourage you to be open to bringing those people into your life, because I believe that at any time in our lives, we can cultivate that family environment if we choose to. It's just about us being open to it.
Couldn't agree more. And it's just, as we come into the close of this episode, it just remember that you have to create space in your world for a soul family. So you also have to consider, are your blood family taking up too much of your energy, your vibration? Accepting that, your blood family were here to cause you pain, abandonment, some sort of conflict, your expectations and whatever you went through as a child is defined who you are as an adult. As Stacey said, she's accepted her parents did the best they could. They were doing the role that they... But it's up to you to accept who you are in this version of you. And up to you to accept that you deserve love. It's you manifesting, it's you putting the energy out there and knowing that there is a blood family out there. And also, knowing that the vibration around us is changing. So this is a time to look for communities, look for spaces, look for areas that may make sense. I mean, we have like a monthly Zoom, which is coming up. The next one's on November the 5th. I'll include the link in the show notes. It's a beautiful community, and they may not... I mean, that community is around the world. And, Stacey lives in the US, right? So they don't always have to be your neighbors, right? It's that, when I was there, I was in with Stacey last week, and we had dinner with the lady that she's talking about, Patty, and I could feel the love that she had for Stacey. But you have to be open to receiving it. Accepting that not every blood relative will understand or love us. Letting go when the soul contract's done is so, so important. You deserve it. Part of my cough, I've still got cold that I caught when I was with Stacey, so side topic, but it's all good. So Stacey, as we start closing out this episode, you know what I'm going to ask you is any journal prompts that that come to your heart, anything you want to share as we close. But yes, some journal prompts will be useful. So over to you.
So if you're wrestling with the relationships that you have in your life, I want to encourage you to take a journaling session and dive a little bit deeper into what you're wrestling with. And I think the place to start is with our family of origin, our blood family. And so I would ask you to journal about what those relationships look like. And do you feel like you are fulfilled and at peace with these relationships? And if you aren't, what needs to change? And then I would encourage you to do a little inventory, like my reflection that I had on my run, where I was shown all of these images of people helping me over the years and being supportive. I want you to take some time out and think about your life over the years and the people who have provided the support or been there for you at a dark time when you needed family, but it wasn't family who showed up, it was someone else. And I just want you to take some inventory of those moments, those snapshots, and see how many times people have shown up for you that in unexpected ways. And are some of those people still in your life? And I want to add to that. Okay. And this is a big one. Reach out to those people who have been that loving support that maybe you didn't realize. Reach out to them and acknowledge it. Whether you tell them that you love them, whether you say thank you, whether you say, I was listening to this podcast episode and it made me realize how important you are to me. Take some time to go to your soul family, those people who have been there for you when you needed them to be, those people that were there for you like family. Reach out to them and give them the gift of knowing what they meant or what they mean to you. I just feel like this is so important. And when we change our view, our mindset, and the way that we look at things, then the things that we look at change. And we can look at this blood family now as maybe lessons learned instead of just pain or hurt, and look at the family that we've chosen and see the power of what we're creating. So, my friends, take some journaling time and some reflection time and see what comes up for you. And if you're feeling brave, reach out to us and share with us what you've learned from this episode or what your takeaways are. We love hearing from our listening audience. What do you think, Nims?
Definitely. I couldn't agree more. We love hearing from you. But also, everything you said is so important. It's like, if you have had people in your world that have given you that unconditional love, 100% reach out to them. And if you haven't, have you created space? Are you open to allow love into your world? Because when you choose your family, it's so different from your blood family. Because family isn't only about blood, right? It's about love. It's about resonance, connection with other souls, and who you choose to walk beside you. And when you release the expectation of what a blood family should be, you create space for other souls and a chosen family to step in. Maybe there's a connection out there that can show you unconditional love. I really believe we're never alone. A lot of the time when I talk about soul family, I'm also talking about our guides. For me, the soul family is sure the human soul family I've chosen to build a deeper connection with, but it's also my guides. They come as part of the team. So, love for me is infinite. It's never ending. Allow it in. You deserve it. And if you want more information about your blood family and your soul contracts with them, why you pick them, you can always book an Akashic record reading. Me and Stacey do a joint reading. We do individual ones too. Your guides, it's never about not having the human experience. So if you're here to experience something, you're still going to experience it, but we can give you insights into what your soul's been through. And if you're looking for a safe space, I'm starting a partly the reason picking this topic and just the energy I feel. I just feel there's a gap between the podcast and the services we offer. So I am starting a membership circle, which starts on November the 11th. You can become a founding member. It's at a discounted price right now. So price will go up in the coming months. But like I said, the first session will be November 11th. It'll include monthly calls, exclusive meditations, energy updates. But yeah, I just wanted to create a safe and loving community. So if that appeals to you, reach out. If you want more information, I can send it to you. But as we close, this is an important time. We're shifting from divine masculine to divine feminine. You're needed, you're wanted, but it's important that you open your heart out to truly receive the love of a divine family, of a soul family. Be open to receiving that magic. We've talked about it today, and we can keep talking about it, but ultimately it has to be you opening yourself up, opening your heart to truly, truly receive. So thank you, Stacey, as always. Thank you for this powerful conversation. Really feel like it was needed right now, and I needed it too. So thank you for this safe space. Thank you to all our listeners. I'm sending you so much love and light. Stacey, I'll hand over to you to close out.
Thank you again for another powerful episode. I'm hoping that we've given you, our listening audience, some things to think about and some time to be reflective. And please reach out to us if we can provide you any support. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for being in this space. Thank you for following us on this journey. What a beautiful episode. Thanks, Nems.
Thanks, Stacey. Love and light. Bye for now.